Today we'll be installing the Retrax EQ. This is the standard installation, which is the process for most trucks. Let's go ahead and get started. Here are the tools we'll be using for this installation. Remove the screws and shipping brackets from both sides of the cover, but retain one of the shipping brackets for a later step. Locate the passenger side rail. If you have the optional passenger side LED light, make sure that's installed first. The open channel of the cover will face the inside of the bed, and the vertical extrusion on the bottom will have holes on the side that faces the canister. Pull the cover out of the canister about 6 inches, then guide the drive cable with the latch into the rail channel. Slide the rail forward until the holes on the rail line up with the holes on the canister. Next, you can attach the hardware that fastens the rail to the canister. First, insert a canister mounting bolt into the hole next to where the cover meets the rail. The bolt will go through the rail, then through the cover. Now, secure the bolt with a provided lock nut. Thread in 2 canister mounting bolts to fasten the rail to the other end of the canister. Use the T25 Torx bit on the head of the bolt while you tighten the locking nut with a 3/8 socket or wrench. Next, we can snug down the other 2 bolts with our T25 Torx bit. Now repeat the same for the driver's side rail. If you have the optional passenger side LED light, connect both LED lights to the T-cable. Connect the T-cable to the cover module, and secure all wires with zip ties. Now let's move to the truck bed. Before we route the main wire harness from the bed to the battery, determine which side of the vehicle the battery is on, passenger or driver's side. Then route the main wiring harness on the same side as your battery. Feed the battery terminal connection end of the main wiring harness into an available pickup bed hole on the identified side of the bed of your pickup. Bring the wire down between the bed and the cab. Proceed to route the main wiring harness along the frame. Loosely zip tie the harness in place as you work towards the front of the vehicle. We will come back and tighten them on a later step. Keep the wire as high as possible and away from moving parts and exhaust to prevent damage while driving. Most trucks will have an existing harness you can follow back to your engine bay. Route the harness up to the vehicle's battery, securing it near the battery close by with a zip tie. Remove the fuse from the holder and set it safely to the side. With the necessary ratchet and socket, connect the negative terminal on the harness to the negative battery terminal or a nearby chassis ground post. Now, connect the jumper positive wire to the battery, then to the main harness. Don't reinstall the fuse just yet, but go ahead and secure the harness with zip ties from earlier. Heading back to the cover, with 2 people, lift the cover into the bed, placing the canister midway to the bulkhead. Remove the protective film from the canister. Plug the harness into the cover module located on the back side of the canister and secure the cable with zip ties. With the seal on top of the bulkhead laying towards the cab, trim the seal so that it lays flat and fits snugly between bed caps. Now, gently close the tailgate, but make sure you don't strike the rails. Next, locate the shipping bracket that we removed from the cover earlier. Hold it against the top of the tailgate, use it as a 1/8 inch spacer. Slide the rail back until it contacts the shipping bracket spacer. Proceed to do the same process on the opposite side. Now that we have the rail positioned properly, we can attach the clamps. Place the first clamp between the 2 white adjustment screws near the tailgate. The adjustable top jaw of the clamp must be tucked firmly to the top and inside corner of the sheet metal of the truck bed rail. If the jaw does not contact firmly to the corner of the bed flange, remove the clamp and loosen the screws to adjust the jaw. Retighten the screws to fully engage the lock washers. Always make sure at least 2 sets of teeth are fully engaged. While applying pressure down to the top of the rail, use a 9/16 wrench to tighten the top bolt on the clamp. Then attach the clamp between the adjustment screws by the canister in the same way. Repeat the same steps to the clamp down the driver's side rail. Measure the distance between the rails where they contact the canister. Then measure the distance between the rails above each clamp. It's important that the rails are parallel. If they're not, Loosen the clamps and use the supplied 6mm Allen wrench to correct the depth of the white adjustment screws. Then reattach the clamp. If the measurements are correct, tighten each standoff bolt on each clamp so that there is approximately a 2-degree upward tilt to each rail, and then snug the jam nut against the clamp. Once everything is aligned properly, retighten the clamps. With the harness out of the way, go ahead and insert the drain tubes. Push the fitting into the hole at the bottom of the canister and rotate clockwise. It'll click twice when it's secure. Repeat for the drain tube on the other side. Insert the T-slot seal and cut to length. These can be removed or modified to accommodate any accessories you choose to install into the T-slots. Finally, we can reinstall the fuse into the fuse holder by the battery and move to the vehicle-specific cabin module instructions. Before we install the module, note this module is for the F-150. The process will be different depending on your vehicle. Starting in the front seat on the passenger side, open the glove box and press in on the side tab so it can extend forward. Lift the glove box off its hinges and set it aside. Now use a fastener removal tool to disconnect the 3 fasteners holding the fiber kick plate to the bottom of the dash and remove the kick plate. Now turn to the factory harness that runs behind the glove box and disconnect the second connector from the left. Feed the provided T-harness between the kick plate behind the dash to the factory connectors. Connect the T-harness to each end of the factory connector that we just disconnected. Make sure that you route the T-harness so that it is tucked neatly behind the dash so that it does not block the glove box from closing. Next, connect the T-harness to the DS4 cabin module and tuck it up and out of the way of the footwell. On the firewall, there's a stud with a nut that's used to secure a factory module. Remove the nut and connect the DS4 ground wire to that stud and reinstall the nut. Now reattach the glove box, but leave the kick plate open for now. First, we need to use the Real Truck Installer app. The installer app must be done first on the vehicle to configure the cabin module to the truck and the cover before the user app can be paired. Follow the on-screen prompts to configure the new modules. The cover should now be operational with the truck. Use the key fob to test to see if everything works. To pair your phone to the cabin module to give an additional way to operate the cover, scan the QR code in your instructions and follow the on-screen prompts to pair the new modules. Now that we successfully paired the cabin module, reattach the felt kick plate under the glove box. To install the optional touchpad, remove the keypad adhesive backing, press it to the truck firmly for roughly 60 seconds to ensure a good bond. We have also provided an access code key card with instructions if needed. Your Retrax EQ installation is now finished.